Hey everybody, hope you had a good weekend. I want to drop you a video today, tagging on to my video that I did last week called Managing Transitions. So in that video, I lay out the idea created by William Bridges in his book Transitions, that change is physical, but transition is mental. And so change in some ways is easier since it's often outside of our control. Transition must be done by us. So transition is this process of letting go of one idea and embracing another. Let me say that again. Transition is letting go and embracing. Now, Bridges would say that this process of letting go and embracing, it actually happens over 3 stages: the end, the uncertain middle, and the new beginning. Today, I want to kind of just tap into the end, specifically how your Clifton Strengths profile impacts the way you deal with endings. Now, if you need a refresher on like what the 4 domains of Clifton Strengths are, you can find a video on each domain in my IGTV page or my YouTube channel. The link's in my bio for both. When it comes to this first phase of transition, the end, our biggest challenge is this first barrier is feelings. We often have feelings, we don't know why we're having them. But our struggle isn't just naming our feelings. We struggle today with naming the endings. If I can give you one tactic for dealing with the end, here's the thing. Here it is. Name the ending first and the feeling second. Make a list of all the things that have ended or permanently been altered that aren't the same. Like, list them all out. Then make a list of all the feelings that right now that you're feeling. Connect the two. After that, you need to just feel it. You need to process it. That the endings and the feeling connection is the first step, and one that we're going to have to be repeated over and over again. This is how we grieve. This is how we get to the end. For example, I'm just starting to internalize the fact that I'm never going to be able to travel the same way I did before. The rules have changed. The laws will change, and checking and documentation, all that stuff's going to increase. And how I see freedom has changed. How my friends view my travel now maybe is a risk to them. Fear in general. It's been just in the last week I've started to realize this, and I'm making a list and asking myself, how do I feel about this stuff? I'm writing it all down. So how does our Clifton Strengths translate to this? Clifton Strengths are patterns of thought, feeling, and behavior. So these patterns are neurological, and they're firing in response to the world around us. They're patterns, and so they repeat, almost by default. And there's things you think, feel, and do similarly in response to all the stimuli. And if you know this, you can not only look for the negative results of the responses, but you can leverage them to your advantage. So I'm going to give you examples of both the advantage and the challenge of each Clifton Strengths domain when it comes to dealing with Bridges' idea of the end. So the first domain is executing. Now, forgive me. Remember, executing themes are all about getting things done, having things measured, compiled. Accomplishment and achievement are not only satisfying, but are required to reinforce the identity of the executing person. So examples of executing themes: achiever, responsibility, belief, arranger, deliberative. And when it comes to the end, executing themes have a unique challenge. Executing themes don't mind endings when they're in their control. But when they have no say or are forced to end, slow, or maybe even leave things incomplete, executing themes get frustrated. See, there's a need for the autonomy of executing themes. They like to work by themselves a little bit. So being forced into action or forced into a lack of action, it's frustrating. In the end, it's all about agency, not having the power to choose. So the struggle can be you'll keep fighting to act and doing, not even realizing that your fight is not even about the action you're focused on, but the fear of losing the control or not having a choice. So keeping with our buckets of challenge and advantage, the challenge for executing is the loss of control, the fear it produces in people who are compelled in some ways internally to measure themselves. That's our first bucket challenge. But there's also advantages and things you can do with your executing themes. See, the advantage of executing themes right now is if you can turn the processing of this end and grief into the project you focus on, you can reclaim your clarity. So you got to create steps, catalog feelings, knowns, unknowns, create a roadmap of how you're going to get through now to June 1st, and then keep yourself on track. See, the gift of giving your profile is the plan. The bigger question that can come from this executing theme during this season is, how do I realize that I get to do, I don't have to do? You get to, you don't have to. Performance is about what you can do, not what you have to. Next domain is going to be influencing. So our influencing themes are themes that magnify and multiply ideas and momentum. They want to influence others. They want to get things moving. Examples of influencing themes are activator, maximizer, communication, competition, and of course, woo. Influencing themes can either struggle with the end or they ignore it. They ignore the end completely. Influencing is usually about initiation of motion, getting ideas unstuck, moving people, getting started. They're so excited about the beginning, they often don't have an end goal. It's like the old NASA space station, space lab in the 70s, when scientists launched this lab into permanent orbit because they knew how to get it up there, and they assumed that over its time in orbit, they'd figure out how to land it. This was literally the plan. We'll figure out the landing later. Of course, they never did, and the space lab actually had to crash into the ocean. The challenge for influencing themes is that this season of end causes us to want to pretend it's not happening. If we deny the end, we'll find a way to change the reality tomorrow, and we'll figure out the ending later. And in fact, let's start new things today, ignore all the things we left undone. Influencing themes right now are struggling with things ongoing from 2019, things we thought we'd have the first of 2020 to make right. We're going to fix it later. Debt, lack of organization, clear steps. They all get lost in the noise of someday. So when the end occurs, there's no escape. Denial and depression can be a real challenge. You have to feel the pain and not numb with momentary pleasure. The advantage of influencing themes, if you'll do the hard work of not delaying the end, you'll actually pivot and move on to the middle and the new beginning faster. See, this is the unusual truth. The influencing theme delay is actually worse than the processing and letting go. Once you let the monster out of the closet, look clear-eyed at the painful mess, in the end, you'll be able to take a breath and be beautiful. The problem is your fight to open your eyes in the moments of ending. Be courageous. Stay sober. Face it. Do what you do best. Move on. Next up is relational themes. Now, relational themes are described as the glue and grease of any situation. They hold people together. They help things move smoothly along. Examples of relational themes are relator, empathy, developer, includer, connectedness. Relational themes feel things emotionally. So on some level, they do endings well. At least they're aware of feelings of an ending since they expect the feelings, especially in times of collective change. They're processing lots of feelings since the community expression is quite a bit higher, and each message must be internalized in some way. This is what they do well. They translate chaotic worlds into feelings, and the struggle is connecting the feelings to the actions or needs through all the noise. See, this requires finding boundaries or buffers to not get overwhelmed with the information. So for relational themes, here's the challenge. How do you shut out other people's noise without shutting out your own feelings? This is the challenge of relational themes in general. The separating out what is an accurate read on the emotional temperature of someone else and what is a projection of my own feelings. For strong relational themes, this is difficult day to day. It's even harder in chaos. To manage this, you need to put words to your own feelings. This comes back to the exercise. List your feelings, connect them to this source so you can decide if you can do anything about it. Feelings not traced create anxiety. Trace the source of your feelings. But the advantage for relational themes is that if you come to terms with getting your own feelings named and traced, you then get to be a guide for others. See, the act of serving, loving, listening, all those things you do, it's powerful to those of us around you. But it helps you process your own ending. Do this from a healthy place, and the impact is going to be good for everyone. Lastly, strategic thinking. So strategic thinking themes, these themes are critical and creative. They break ideas down. They create new ideas from the shell of old ideas. It's a constant internal processing. Examples of strategic themes, strategic, learner, intellection, ideation, futuristic. These themes, they process on the inside. And they need some time alone to think when it comes to endings so they can be more logical in their processing. What ended? Why did it end? What does it mean? You may find that strategic thinking themes are able to process the actual end clearer than others, but may not be able to connect to its emotions. So strategic thinking's challenge when it comes to the end is reality is clear, the emotions related are less certain. This takes time to process. Logic is important for these moments, but they are often surrounded by people emoting. So how do you find the time? Time is key. You need time to process. Write your thoughts down. Write why you think the ending happened. What could result from the ending? It takes spinning out of your head and kind of putting it all onto paper to make this work. The advantage of strategic thinking themes is that you're able to tap into reason and logic more in uncertainty. See, you help us see past our grief. A plan for the next steps is going to be important. How do we stay afloat? How do we make new beginnings? We need your talking points and your bullets. But don't just wait for us to ask. Offer up your ideas and be aware we may not always be ready to implement them. That doesn't diminish the idea. Bridges would say you can't embrace the next normal until we let go of the old one. Executing themes, make the process your job and you'll get through it. Influencing themes, don't avoid it and then cheer us on. Relating themes, be present with yourself so you can be present with us. Thinking themes, begin crafting the clarity we're going to need so it's ready when we are. The end, it's about grief. It's about letting go. Remembering what was great so we can be ready to be great again.